Hey, Travels with Dottie here. And I want to talk to you about introverts and full timing in Quartzsite. Because guess what? I'm one of you. I'm an introvert. And you go, oh, no, you're not. You couldn't be. I watch your videos and you're just so like expressive and loud. Rarely do people say to me, Rob, I can't hear you. That doesn't mean I'm not an introvert. What does it mean? An introvert gets drained of energy in social situations and recharges their batteries by generally in solitude, being alone, being quiet. Extroverts are the opposite. They get exhausted with isolation and they recharge their batteries through they get energized interacting with people. And how they look on the outside isn't always predictable. You ever heard the expression, you can't judge someone's insides by their outsides? Well, it holds true. Definitely here and otherwise with people, you don't know what the inside is looking like if you're just looking at the outside. So if you just look at my outside, you'd say, oh, definite extrovert. Not true. I'm the guy that, like in college, would dread, college and early adulthood for sure, would dread going to a party because I didn't know what to say to people. I didn't know what to do with my hands. Sometimes I would just awkwardly kind of stand to the side and be largely unnoticed at the same time thinking everyone's looking at me, wondering what my problem is. And I would often just sneak out the back and go home. So things are better now when I go to parties. I don't go to very many of them, but I go to lots of, like in Quartzsite, I'll go to lots of events and potlucks and things. And so what's different now? Well, I've learned some tricks, and I'm going to share them with you. First, I'm going to give you the tricks that are sort of simple and you can memorize them and just do them. And then I'm going to talk to you about some thoughts that I've trained myself to have, some internal, I call it internal dialogue that I have. You ever talk to yourself in your head? Of course you do. We all do. And I'm gonna reveal some of that internal dialogue that I have. And I'm going to try to tailor this to those of you that are planning to go to Quartzsite, maybe for the first time, and have some fear about how am I going to, I hear how great it is to become part of the community and meet nomads, but I'm not sure I can do that. And I'm going to suggest that you can, and I'm going to help you do that. And I'm going to follow that up with, if you have questions about this topic in the comments, I don't mean like, telling me how wrong I am. If you have questions and honest questions about how to do this that go beyond what I'm saying in the video, I'm going to answer all those for sure. I'm going to thoughtfully answer all of those. Because I understand how you feel. I understand that fear. And I understand really not wanting to talk about that fear. So, Quartzsite. Number one way to engage a stranger in conversation, right, is ask them about their truck, their trailer, their fifth wheel, their Class A, their Class C, their motorcycle, their side-by-side. Here's a secret. Nomads love to talk about their stuff. Oh, you really want to get stuck with somebody and get to know them well? Ask them about their solar system, especially if you see a lot of solar panels. Ask them about that. They will talk to you all day long. And guess what happens when someone talks to you like that? You get to know them. You remember them, they remember you. Are you bad at remembering names? You're not worse than I am. Your phone is your friend. Let me scroll down here and see how far I get before I get to. I've got someone's space number and the husband's name and husband's wife. The husband's name, wife's name. I put it in my my notes, whatever equivalent that you have on your phone. And I do it in front of them. I go, I am just horrible at remembering names, and it's important to me that I remember your name, so let me put it in my phone. Guess what? That's flattering to people. And you can also say, can I take your picture so I can remember? And then you can set them up as a contact, and you might get their phone number. Who knows? But they'll definitely probably say yes to taking their picture so you can remember who they are. So, in these notes programs, you can insert a picture into the note. And when I approach them later, I do, okay, it's Fred and Wilma. And I walk up and go, hey, Fred, hey, Wilma. And, people are flattered, especially in the beginning of a friendship, when you remember their name and you use it. So cheat. Trust me, it works. And believe me, there is no person that you know that is any worse at remembering names than me. I will forget the name permanently within 30 seconds of meeting someone. So I whip the phone out almost automatically. I wish I did it more. So, engaging in conversation. Now, this is a little bit next level, but I do it every time I run errands. In Quartzsite, in December and January, guess what you're going to be doing when you go to the grocery store, the dollar store, you go to get supplies? Guess one guaranteed thing that you're going to be doing that most people hate, but I embrace. Can you guess what it is? Standing in line, especially in the dollar store. The dollar store, you could wait 15 minutes to check out in the dollar store. Maybe longer if they have register problems, which they always seem to do. Whether it's a Family Dollar, Dollar General, whatever, they always have those problems, especially when it's busy. So I'm standing in line. I got people in back of me, people in front of me. I'll say something. I'll ask a question or make a comment about something in their basket. They have some Little Debbie zingers. I'll say, boy, I really like those. Do you buy those regularly? Now, someone that's not open to conversation is going to give you a one-word answer. That's a cue to turn around, wait a little while, and do something similar with the next person. I rarely have to do that, though. Rarely do I have to do that. And no, this isn't about they just recognize you from YouTube, so they're nice to you. People do recognize me for YouTube, but in this scenario that I'm talking about, I can't remember a circumstance where I've engaged someone like that and they said, oh, I know who you are. Maybe that's happened once, but it usually doesn't happen. I'm not taking any shortcut that you can't take here. But I've met some interesting people standing in line. I turn a chore of standing in line and getting pissed off about it to an opportunity to meet new people. Right? It's a different way of thinking about things, and that gives you a hint of some of the internal dialogue. Okay? Internal dialogue 1, that's not helpful. You drive into the parking lot, and you see it's jam full, and you walk in the door, and you see the checkout line wraps around the corner. damn it, I can't stand it. What are all these people doing here? Why do I come to Quartzsite and during the busy time? This just sucks. Yeah, it does. It's getting worse every year. Worse every year. And they're bums outside. Did you see the bums outside in the parking lot? This is all internal dialogue. Internal dialogue too, where I think about it and I'm intentional about the dialogue. We always pop up with the negative. Oh, look at that line, it's terrible. The other voice goes, whoa, time out, wait a minute, this is not terrible. This is great. I get to meet more people. I'm going to quick get my stuff so I can get in that line and meet some people. You know, it's like you never know what somebody, sometimes the conversations are short, one word answers. Sometimes you find out a lot about, the small talk about the Debbie singers can easily get more personal when you ask the question everyone asks when they meet people, where are you from? Where are you coming from? Well, I come from Kansas City. Really? Do you do this a lot? Are you full-time, part-time? Do you have an RV? I mean, you already have a bunch of stuff in common. You're in this little town of 2,500 people in the middle of friggin' nowhere in the desert. You have a lot in common. You have a ton in common with it right off the bat. So it's not like being 25 and walking to a party, a bunch of people you don't know where they're from, you don't know where they went to school, what their jobs is, nothing. You don't have what you might have in common. You got to fish for it. Here in Quartzsite, you don't need to fish for it. It's already there. It's like on a silver platter for you to trigger great conversations with people. Right? And it works really, really well, whether it's the grocery store, the dollar store, waiting in line. At the Big Tent show, the Rock and Gem show, there's plenty of opportunities where you're milling around with people waiting for something or looking at something, and you have the opportunity to have these conversations. Even though doing it makes you feel uncomfortable, use the little tricks. I don't care whether you need to write the questions I just suggested on your phone. And quick, take a peek at your phone. Hi, my name is Rob. Where are you from? Write it down. Who cares? No one's going to notice. No one's going to care. Write it down. Right? Internal dialogue. If you have that negative internal dialogue like I do every time you go into a busy store, put that in the note and put alternative dialogue. Read it. Then start the better internal dialogue. Tell you a therapist's secret. So those of you that don't know me, I'm a licensed psychotherapist, mental health counselor, however you want to put it, for 20 years. And yes, I do take my own advice. Not often enough, but I do. One of the causes for feelings of anxiety and or depression is our internal dialogues, right? The ideas and words and conversations that are going on in our heads, right? If we talk about something as being bad, we're going to feel bad about it. If we make a conscious decision to look at things a different way and talk about them being the good things about them, the opposite will happen. Now, I'm not going to minimize what you're going through if you have severe depression or anxiety, right? Because my simple words here aren't going to go, oh, thanks, Rob. My lifelong battle with anxiety is over today, thanks to your 5 words. No, I understand that. But I will tell you this, is if I have a patient that has a lifelong depression or anxiety, this is where I begin with them. This is where I begin, right? And I'll usually say, so you have anxiety. Let's say you have anxiety in public. Tell me a story about the last time that happened. And sometimes I have to really coach people to understand what I mean by a story. I want to know where you were going, what you were driving, maybe what you were wearing, what you were thinking, what your intention was, and what happened. What did you see when you got out of the car? I want a story. I want a story that I could use to write a script and make a movie. Because I really get a picture of what the world is looking like through your eyes. And then as you're guiding me through what it's like to see things, I'm going to ask you, okay, so what were you thinking at that point? Do you remember? Do you remember what you were thinking about? Yeah, I was thinking the guy was a real jerk. He looked like, someone that was going to be mean or rude, or he just looked like one of those fill in the blank stereotypes. Okay, and I'd stop and I'd go, okay, let's talk for a minute about, you could be right, that could be exactly how he is. Let's talk about the reasons that you had for that. Well, he just had that look. He had that look on his face, and he looked like one of those. Okay, again, you could be right, but let's try some experimentation. The next time something like that happens, let's be a detective. Let's make it fun. Let's be a detective. That guy in front of you that looks like the opposite of everything that you believe in your heart, just as an experiment, as an investigation. Use one of these questions and engage him in conversation, see if you're right. And half the time you're going to come back to me and say, Rob, I told you, I know people. It's exactly what he was like. And the other half of the time, you're going to come back and say, wow, he was completely different from what I thought. Then, my friends, you really learn something of true value in navigating this life as an introvert. You don't know what the insides are by looking at the outside, at least half the time. At least half the time, if not more. I had a similar experience that a viewer had, but she had a beautiful post about it. There are people that complain about the homeless in Quartzsite. Are there people panhandling in town? Absolutely. Are there people that you look at in like the dollar store parking lot that look like they're homeless? Yeah. Are they homeless? You don't really know, right? There's a fairly good bet the guy standing at McDonald's at the exit with the "please help me, I'm homeless and I have no money." It's a pretty good bet he's homeless. But people just, in particular, what I'm thinking about is the sort of rough-looking younger crowd hanging out in small groups outside the dollar store that look kind of scruffy and suspicious. It's very easy to create a dialogue in your head about them and how they're the dangerous people, they're criminals, blah, 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 blah. And this woman was kind of responding to other comments on a video that I did about this kind of person in Quartzsite. The unsavory, that people are quick to go, oh, they're meth heads, and when they have no idea anything about methamphetamines or how that looks or what the outward physical signs may or may not be and how they may be signs of something else entirely. Trust me, you don't know. And she said she saw one day a group of kids like that, and that she had that uneasy feeling about, but she steeled herself and she walked up to them and she engaged them in conversations. And she said, as I write this, I'm getting teary because of the wonderful people that I met. These wonderful young people that I talked to that were so kind and engaging and friendly and intelligent. She found out. She walked up to somebody. She had the bravery to walk up to someone she was kind of afraid of in the parking lot in Dollar Tree, in the dollar store. Yeah, it was the dollar store on West Main Street in Quartzsite. Okay, that's everything I've talked about. Has been talking about approaching strangers. Well, there's something, if you're camping in the desert and you're camping in the long-term visitor area, I mean, you're buying maybe a 2-week permit for $40 or a season pass for $180. You can become part of a community out there immediately, no questions asked. How? Pretty easy. Let's say you're a car camper or a tent camper, or a van that doesn't have a bathroom in it. If you're that description, the LTVA South, where I suggest that a lot of people go, I've had a great time down there, they have a rule. If you don't have an RV, trailer, van, whatever, with a black tank, a black tank meaning you've got plumbing for going to the bathroom built into your rig, and the telltale sign of that is there's an outlet for it that's visible. That's how they tell whether people's compliant to this rule. And this rule is, if you don't have that on your rig, you need to be within 500 feet of a vault toilet. And please, don't ask me how many vault toilets there are. Probably 10 in just La Posa South. So there are plenty. One of my viewers, I hope he's watching this and he'll chime in and validate what I'm saying. He was a viewer. He was watching my videos. He came to Quartzsite for the first time. He had a car and a tent. And he found out about that rule, probably maybe from one of my videos, and he was nervous about that. He said, that seems terrible to have to park right next to a toilet in the desert. That doesn't sound appealing. Does it sound appealing to you? No, it sounds terrible. Until I describe to you what happened with him. Number one, 500 feet is a long way. How many feet is a football field? Imagine a football field. It's 300. So it's not quite 2 football fields you're allowed to be with it. So, and there are 10 of them. If you want to be by yourself, you can be within 500 feet of a vault toilet, even during the peak season, even in January. I can tell you about this. Say, why would you want to? Because what happened with him was he decided to pick one of the closer in vault toilets that people tend to congregate around, people that have car camping and things like that. And he joined them. He was early in the season, so maybe there were 3 or 4 of them well within 500 feet. I'd say his rig was 50 feet from the vault toilet. They don't smell. They don't. There's no grossness about that. And he found, he said, Rob, I'm just going to get a short term. I'm going to get a 2-week pass. I don't know if this thing's for me. I'm not going to buy a season pass. I just don't know. I'm skeptical. Absolutely be skeptical. I was first time. And he ended up very enthusiastically buying a season pass within a week or 2. Because what he found happen is, hey, is Rob going to get to the point? Yes, right here. I'm going to get to the point. A community forms around those vault toilets. Nice people, supportive people, other nomads that understand. If you're a car camper, they understand. You have a ton in common with everyone in Quartzsite, and then it's a whole new level when you're around people that are car camping. That's a whole new level of commonality. Instant community. He loved being there that whole season. I used to stop by and talk to him occasionally, and he was so enthusiastic about his little community around the vault toilet. What else can you do? Well, in La Posa South, and these are not the only options. These are the ones I'm familiar with. There are 2 regular camps, for people that don't need to park within the 500 feet of the toilet, people with basically RVs. There are 2 different camps on either side of the main road. One's a little bit easier to find than the other, but it's Q Camp. It's going to be on the north side of the main road, right? And it used to be called Dead End Camp. Now I'm drawing a blank. Give me a second here. Give me a second. I was serious when I said I forget names. I had to put everything on pause, and I had to text my friend Deborah Dickinson and ask her what the name of the camp was that I have stayed at and I visited 100 times. It's called The Spot, and the other one's called the Q Camp. And I'm going to, for both of these, first The Spot, I'm going to put up a little map here and show you how to find the spot. And so you might want to freeze it and look at it, or find a way to print it out. And then I'll put the Q Camp up here on how to get to that. Now, what are the differences between those two camps? Well, there's some notable differences. If you like to karaoke and party and late into the night, The Spot is for you. If you're more laid back and quieter, the Q Camp is for you. But here's what they both have in common. And if you're not careful what you're saying on your text messages, if you're using the microphone, it'll keep sending what you're saying. It almost did. So those are the two, depending on what you want. And you could go to one and say, this is not my cup of tea, and move to the other. What they have in common is they welcome everyone. There's no application process. There's no asking for permission. And you really can't have someone ask for permission, because as long as you're parked within 15 feet of someone else, then you're within the rules at the LTVA, and you can't reserve areas or tell other people or even suggest to other people where they can and can't camp. So these two camps embrace that and welcome people to come in. And as soon as you pick a spot, that's why it's called The Spot. As soon as you pick a camp for yourself, and what I would do is I would think, when you think you're there, I think both of them have signs, but if you miss the signs, there'll be people walking around. You say, hey, is this the Q Camp? And they'll say yes or no, or it's down there. But if they say yes, any suggestions on where I might park? And they'll probably say park anywhere you want, or they may have a suggestion. But anyway, it's just a way to verify you're in the right place. You set up your camp, and if you don't want to walk up and approach people, just open your chair, plop in front of your rig, and someone will talk to you. Trust me. And you will find out they have events, they have potlucks. If you're at one of these camps and you see a campfire and people are sitting around it, that's not private. That is, anyone in the camp gets to go there. You don't have to wait to be invited. You grab your chair and your drink or your coffee or your beer or whatever you do, and you go over and you cop a squat by that campfire. You're going to meet people, whether you like it or not. You may hate it. That way you'll pack up and you'll move out. There's plenty of places in the desert right there to just drive out a few hundred yards all by yourself, and you don't need to be bothered by anybody. But you know what you could do? You could do that, and you can come. You don't have to be camping in these camps to participate in their events. No. I came to potlucks and karaoke stuff at The Spot in many years where I wasn't camping there. They don't care. Everybody's invited. That's part of the beauty of this lifestyle. So, you introverts, did I do well by you? Did this help? No matter how frightened you are to get out there and meet other people, listen to the things that I said in this video. You can do this, and you can find some joy in Quartzsite, Arizona.